Welcome to Starting Over Podcast, bonus round, microcast, fun time. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. And this is the show that we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of HEROCLIX. Alright, I just put up a show not too long ago from me not putting up anything. So, so I'm going to try to share some of the information and some of the things I was working on in private, in secret, and just throwing elements out there. This is going to be what some of the previous episode was going to be, and then some. So, alright, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at combos. And this is an idea suggested by Vess Husband. So, big up to you. Combos, from the main concept that I'm coming from today, is I'm getting several elements that work really well together, and then knowing when to stop. Okay? And this has really become an issue with the Gizmo Cyborg tech of, hey, Gizmo creates objects that gives me special powers. It gives me standard powers. Cyborg can shoot through an object, and then I have a super strength guy that can carry the object anywhere on the map. Then Cyborg can shoot through that object, and technically have like full map, ability to just shoot anywhere on the map. So, with that, that's a strong combo. Knowing when to stop is the big thing, because you start combining the Batman, Damon Wayne Batman, and arcade and everything else. Things become silly. So we're going to talk about combos a bit, and you're going to hear my thought process on that, and you're going to see it from a power standpoint, a keyword standpoint, and a ATA or a team ability standpoint. Okay, and so is this going to be like the complete guide to every combo thing in the game? No. I don't have that time, and even if I did have that time, eventually there would always be something else that comes up. But what I am going to propose to you, the listener, is that you should still have your HEROCLIX notebook. I haven't really ground that into everyone's face real recently, but in your HEROCLIX notebook, I want you to create like a subtitle so you can find it in your Word document. But if you're just writing it down, you can put it in the back of the book, or even create another book that just says HEROCLIX combos, and create categories. And say, category, incapper, category, puts tokens on people, category, blows up objects, category, heals for, adds healing effects. Make those different categories, so that as you're flipping through, you're like, oh, daggone it, I forgot that this character has an ability that when I heal and I'm in this point range, I get more healing. Okay? So that's what I want you to have on the forefront of your mind while you're listening to this. So we're going to look at powers, we're going to look at keywords, and then we're going to look at team abilities. Okay? Alright. First off, with powers. And some of you remember everyone should remember the training series. And the training series, it allowed us to, for a lack of a better words, come together and say, hey, how can I use this power? But more importantly, what do I need to look to maximize? What other things do I need to have to maximize this power? And so you have to then take that very micro skill and then expand it out. Okay? So we have basic power combos of, hey, I have a TKer, I have hypersonic speeder, and then I have a super strength guy with hypersonic speed. Okay, so that's a easy powers combo. The more complicated it gets is like a Watu. Really, let me take a Watu out of that. Let's just say unspoken with handcuffs. Unspoken with handcuffs pretty much says, hey, if unspoken lands the attack with the handcuffs, you can't do any actions because you need to do a power action to get out the handcuffs so that you can do any other actions. Then unspoken says, no, you can't do power actions. So once you're hit with unspoken by unspoken's handcuff attack, it's pretty much GG for that figure. It's locked down. Now, is this a big deal in high point games when you have like 6 to 7 crazy damage figures? Not really. But when you start talking about 300 to 500 point games, where there's a very limited array of big attackers, in most cases, then yeah, that power combination can be really strong. So what are we looking for in power combinations to allow us to maximize ourselves or maximize our team? First off, does this power allow for a team effect, or does it do something specifically negative to my opponent? That's the first thing that we're looking for. Okay, so we can say like, hey, I have a power in which everybody on my team is able to do X. Or so let's take, for example, Gizmo. Gizmo says, hey, I remove a light object, you get to use an attack power. I remove a heavy object, you get to use a damage power. Okay, a standard damage power. So if I say like, yeah, Gizmo can always generate lights, but I need a way of generating heavies, and I look at Angrier, and Angrier has a way of generating heavies, I can say, all right, my goal is to make sure that my team always has Prob, or always has Perplex when I need it, or always has Psychic Blast, or always has Super Strength, or whatever you want. Okay, you could say, using Gizmo and Angrier, whatever I really need that turn, I can get it. So if you were able to make some weird point team, you were to say Angrier, Gizmo, and let's just for the heck of it, say that we're going to drop Superman on there, because Superman's everywhere. Now, while I have these two big attackers and Gizmo's supporting me, the combination of me being able to take away a light object and TK out Angrier, or TK out Superman is there, or me being able to give I think Superman Precision Strike. I think Precision Strike is an attack power, or Psychic Blast. Those elements now come into play. So it's a lot to think about, definitely when you're looking at powers working on the team. Now, when you're going to say looking at my opponent's team, you're starting looking at characters that say like, hey, you picked map, like Nightmare says, you have -1 attack. Now I combine that with let's say another effect that says, hey, if you have a modification of your attack value that's lowered by 1, add another -1 on top of it. Let's just say hypothetically you have that. Okay, so now you have something that completely affects your opponent's team. It really doesn't affect your team. I don't want to throw out stuff like Atrocious from the Fast Forces, because his ability can affect your team really, really bad sometimes if you don't place properly. But you can see that by having a mechanic or a power that comes out there and just says, bam, I can hurt my opponent's team, and their attack values can be really strong. But then you can also say, it hurts my opponent's team with one mechanic, then I put in something that helps my team with another mechanic. So let's say we have Nightmare, and we take Nightmare and we team him up with a defend character that say is giving us 20 defend. or we have Doctor Strange using defenders for everybody, and we have a 20D on the team. So now my opponent, if they choose map, has a -1 defense, and I have a 20. I mean, not -1 defense, -1 attack, and I have a 20D. Okay, so that's really strong, because what I've done is I've made the gap between my opponent's attack value, my defense value, a lot greater. Okay, so that's the basics of combos. One of my favorite combos a couple years ago was playing Cyclops from GSX with a Wolverine that like auto healed. So every turn, I mean, well, 2 turns in a row, I could pretty much just keep pushing Wolverine to X-Men heal people up, and there was really nothing my opponent could do about it, and then I would be healing, for 2. Yeah, Wolverine is clicking and taking damage, but you also have to think about this. Wolverine is healing every turn. So even though I'm taking pushing damage, I'm going to heal that up. Plus the time I have 2 tokens, I'm going to heal back up. And then if I fail to get my X-Men roll, so what? I'm going to heal back up. I always come back balanced out. Okay, so there's those options as well to think about. And then in that one I did have fun. There was also another one, and you could tell like a couple years ago I was just fascinated with healing. I had like there was somebody, I forgot who it was. They said like all your characters under 100 points get like bonus healing, and then like I made a team of a bunch of strong characters under 100 points. So, so yeah, that's something there as well. All right, next up, we're going to look at keywords and combining keywords. Now, some of this dips into power, some of this dips into ATAs, but I think this is like the best bridge between the 2 different categories. The biggest thing about synergizing with keywords is mainly that you have effects to say, when I have this keyword, I get to do X. If my opponent has this keyword, I get to do Y. Blade is a great example. Blade says, hey, if you have mystical or monster, or I think steel energy, I can, I get bonus damage against you. So it's like, hey, yeah, if I know that there's a guy at my venue and he's been on a monster mole, did I say monster mole? Mole man. Oh gosh. Mole man kick. Then I know, hey, Blade is a very good figure just because of the keywords. You also have the Professor X from Mutants and Monsters, who has the ability that says, I get to use Perplex for everyone I share a keyword with. So those elements are useful. The other thing that it becomes useful when we're looking at keyword synergy is this. If, let's say, I have an ATA on one figure and a keyword, a different keyword on another figure, and I say, all right, this one figure procs this power when I use my own keyword, and if I have X, Y, and Z on there. This other figure procs when it has its own ATA. We don't have an overlapping TA, but for me to do what I need to do in a very effective manner, I need that ATA and I need that special ability that the other character has, and they both can do what they do without both sharing a keyword. Then bam, you have synergy. You have a way of looking at your keywords in a useful manner. A good example of this is, let's say, oh gosh, what was it? Okay, off the top of my head, we have Villains for Hire, ATA, and we have another character who says, characters that have the such and such keyword. Let's just say animals right now can use telekinesis. So what I would do is I would take Misty Knight, because yes, you can play Misty Knight and Colleen Wing individually for 70 points. And my magical animal, which will be Vixen. And Vixen is next to the character that's going to say, hey, you can use TK. And so Vixen TKs out Misty Knight. And Misty Knight can use, I think, like, she has leadership and like NCAP or something. I can't think of it off the top of my head. So Vixen can copy powers off of the other animal, and Misty Knight can use Villains for Hire after she's TK'd out to move, and again if need to, and then attack, or attack for free and then attack again. So there you go. That's my prime example. Sorry, like the mode count is still like high here. So and with the fan going, I don't know. I'm probably blowing mold from the carpet into my nostrils, but it's warm, and I love my fan. It's a breeze machine. Anyway, going on. So. I don't want you to be limited in your keyword thinking by saying, hey, guess what? I have to share all these keywords so that I can get this effect because I want this effect with everybody. No. That's not true. I would say like I said earlier, know when to stop and know when you can stop. And then some people would say this is min-maxing, sort of. No, it's just knowing when to stop. If I give you a cheesecake and put cherries on top, and then I give you a big, frothy, milkshake, and then I say, like, you want a cheeseburger? You should say, no, I really don't need more than the cheesecake. I need to actually stop at the cheesecake. But if you keep going, you could tell that this massive coronary heart attack is coming, okay, for the amount I'm giving you. The same way with a team. If you keep operating under the presupposition that if I add more effects and more effects and more effects that uses the same thing, you're eventually your team is going to have a heart attack mid-game. And I'll get to that at the end. Okay? All right, so sort of moving things toward the end. ATAs. How do I create a combo with ATAs? And how do I help make my team stronger? Well, first off, I look at ATAs like this. Can I afford to pay for that ATA for my whole team? Check the box, yes or no. If yes, then is that effect worth the compounded points? Check the box, yes or no. If no, go back and look at, can I afford to play this ATA? The answer is no. Then you follow this around. Okay, so that's the end of the yes. If no, can I play this ATA on one figure? Check the box, yes or no. Okay, can I play this? If no, then I need to say, all right, how do I need to redistribute my team? If yes, if I can only play it on one character, is that effect going to be good enough just for that one character? Check the box, yes or no. If no, then go back to the beginning. If yes, then what do I need to do to fill out? Okay? So, I mean, it's a real simple diagram. At any point in time, do I have a problem running this ATA? Can I not afford it? Is this not going to synergize properly? Do I need more people with this TA than I can afford? Then drop it. Don't run that ATA. Look at another ATA. Start from scratch. If you're determined to come from a specific starting point, which everyone has to, whenever you try to have too many options on the table, it's like the cheeseburger and the cheesecake and the shake. You're eventually going to have a coronary. Okay, for your team, because you're like, well, I can always go that way, and I could go this way, and just other thing, and your brain will shut down in team design. Okay, and I watched a show called Brain Games on I think Discovery or Nat Geo, one of them science channels, and what it tells us is something that psychologists and advertisers have known for years. If I give you 50 choices, your brain will lock up. Okay? If I say, pick the best choice out of categories which you normally would feel neutral on, wouldn't have very strong preference, and I put 10 to 15 very good options in front of you, and I tell you, pick the best option, your brain will lock up. But if I give you 3 options and I tell you pick the best option, your brain has no problem. That's why if you look at ice cream is technically, when you break it down, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, or technically citrus. That's all it is if you look at the base root of all your ice creams. If you look at your mint, it's chocolate. If you look at cookies and cream, technically it's chocolate and vanilla. But if you look at strawberry ice cream, citrus, pineapple ice cream, citrus, vanilla ends up covering pretty much the core of so many different flavors, like cookies and cream. I'm not cookies and cream, but cookie dough. Crap. Even like I'll be cheating. The stuff that they use like for Breyers, when they try to actually make like ghetto blizzards, you know what I mean, like DQ does or Sonic does. That pretty much is just a vanilla base. You're saying I want a vanilla base and add this on top. That's really all you're saying. But in the end, you have 3 distinct decisions: chocolate, vanilla, citrus. Same thing that you have to come back with in team building. Am I going defense, high mobility, high attack? Same thing. So with your ATAs, do they help you with that? That's all your categories come in. Are you going high defense, high attack, high mobility? Okay. So like let's go back to villains for hire. Why does villains for hire fall into this weirdness? Okay, because I can say, man, I can have high attack. I can attack twice. I can have high mobility. I can move, free move, and then move again. Okay? So that's on the table. So I can either say I can use this ATA for high mobility or high attack. Okay? But I can't use it for both. I can only pick one. Okay? So if I use it for high mobility, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm getting high attack out of it. But I know for sure I'm not getting high defense out of it. Alright? Then you have, so we're going back to TA synergy with team ability synergy, is do I have a team ability effect that grants me a power that synergizes with a different team ability or power? The most common thing I use on this show is Beta Ray Bill Tech. Beta Ray Bill and Batman, best of friends. Great strength. Hey, Batman gives me stealth. Beta Ray Bill says if you have stealth, line of fire can't be drawn to you. Bam. Okay. Let's say next you have a character who ignores friendly characters, or pretty much ignore characters for drawing line of fire, and you team them up with a Hand or a League of Assassin character and barrier. Now you have a character that can shoot around, all your friendlies and hit the target that you need to hit, and also can not be targeted back for your opponent's prop or opponent's easy counterattack. There you go. So we're using the team ability for a high defensive manner, because that's pretty much all League of Assassins is. It's high defense. All right. So it's when you break it down like that, it becomes real easy. Now, when you mix and match team abilities, you're saying, hey man, this team ability gives me stealth. and I need stealth for this element of my team. I really need some ability to get my defenses lower. Well, this team ability helps me with that. I need a way of making it easier to attack. Well, this ATA helps me do with that. So I have one ATA and then this other TA and this other TA, and then bam, all together this works out. Okay, so let me give you an example of using multiple TAs together in creating this huge synthesis. Okay, I'm going to use, only because I used the ATA this weekend, Offender's ATA on Baron Mordo, a Pog, okay, Cypher, Batman, and Shield. There we go. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to put the utility belt on Batman. Now, Batman is pretty much has League of Assassins ATA without having League of Assassins ATA. Alright, so that's cool. So now I have Baron Mordo in my Pog. And so my Offender's ATA allows me to give my opponent the lowest defense value to that character I'm attacking of any adjacent character. Alright, so I move out my Pog Man. My Pog Man gets next to my target, giving my opponent a 14 defense. I use my shield TA on my Mandroid armor to increase my range so that I can hit my target. And I attack my target, hit, then I use Batman to move up to the wall next to Baron Mordo to block line of fire to Baron Mordo. I don't care if my Pog dies. I just hit you for 5 damage or 4 damage, whatever. I hit you for a lot of damage. Okay, so I've used all my TAs in a very proactive, productive way. Okay, I increased my range. Okay, I protected myself, and I was able to use my offense. Okay, so mixing all of those together into one big pile, and then saying, "Hey, man, I put this in the oven, bake it for 30 minutes," comes out as a delicious full course meal, which is healthy for you. And that's what we're looking at. All right, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to bring everything around, and sort of try to emphasize to you, where does the coronary happen? Why do teams fail when it comes to the combo breaker? To ultra combo finish, not combo breaker. Ultra combo finish. Tribute to Killer Instinct, for people who know where that comes from. And it wasn't Marvel vs. Capcom that did it first. It was freaking Killer Instinct. That's what's up. Anyway, here's what happens. And I'll start the design process from start to finish, why teams fail on I'm trying to do a bazillion combos. First, we say, oh my gosh, I have so many options that can break this. And we get fascinated with it because we found one figure that can do something awesome with that element, a second figure that can do awesome with that element. Then our brain starts to say, what else is similar? Instead of, what else works well? Or, where are my weaknesses, and let me fill that out. Your brain says, because we categorize, oh, what else is in this category? And then we pile it on, and 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 on. And then, when it's all said and done, we're left with a whole bunch of options that are hyper-dependent on one thing. So if our opponent takes that one thing away, we're pretty much screwed. For example, recently I've seen a whole lot of teams that involved around objects. Good, bad, and indifferent, and there goes my phone. And what I've noticed, which has been quite amusing, is there are so many times that people don't ever think, well, what happens if my opponent just has an effect that takes away objects? Or what happens when my ability to generate objects is slower than my ability to destroy or use objects for effects? So, like okay, let's go back at, for example. If I have a magical team of some point cost that I can't see in my head, of Cyborg, Gizmo, Cyborg Superman, Arcade, and Marquis Damian Wayne Batman. Okay, let's look at how many and Angrier. Let's let Angrier. Okay, let's like 1,000-point game. Okay, maybe even over 1,000, maybe, because Angrier and I know Cyborg Supes are expensive. Okay, probably 1,000-point game. Okay, so all right, with all those characters together, who's eating objects? Angrier. Let's not front. Are we going to send Angrier out there with no objects when he does an attack? Heck no. We want to maximize damage. Okay, Cyborg Superman. He is eating objects. Okay. Arcade. He blows up objects. Okay. And Damian Wayne blows up objects. Okay. So we have 4 characters blowing up objects. We have a neutral, which is Cyborg. He just shoots through an object. Okay. And then we have 1 guaranteed generator, and that's Gizmo. Okay. So, and then you can say, well, what if I add that Hulk, the New Guy Night Hulk? Okay. You still only have 2 generators and 4 consumers and 1 neutral. Eventually, your ability to generate objects is not going to keep pace with your guys that are destroying objects. Okay? It's just not. Alright, so what if I knock it down to just Cyborg Superman and let's be nice, Damian Wayne. And oh, don't forget, yeah, Gizmo technically destroys objects too to get his powers off. So let's limit it down. Gizmo and Cyborg Superman. Okay? And then I have Cyborg. Alright, so those with all of that, I have 1 neutral, 1 generator, 2 destroyers. Because again, Gizmo destroys between 3 figures, okay? Alright, so now I have a base set of 3 objects that I have. And I have to now say, because I have this base set of 3 objects, I know that I cannot play special objects. And you're going to say, Dark Logos, why can't you play special objects? Because that eats into the amount of objects I can destroy. I'm not going to pay 5 points for something that I'm going to destroy. Just to destroy. Okay? Why am I paying 5 points for Kryptonite? Or 10 points? Or why am I paying for 2 points for the bat signal if all I'm going to do is eat it? That's dumb. Okay? So that's the stuff that people don't think about. And so they're like, well, dude, I can eat objects, and then I bring Cyborg Superman back, and then he can go and heal. And it's like, okay, you bring Cyborg Superman back to heal, but you have no ability to do that again. And if your offense is built around him doing a ton of damage, coming back and absorbing an object, you already have design flaws. Okay, so when we look at it, why did that team have a coronary? It was going to eat more objects than it could generate. Okay. Next thing is when it's in combat, if your opponent sees, daggone it, that team is very, 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 very dependent on objects. I'm just going to destroy your objects. You can't do jack. Then you're in trouble. I can't count the times that my opponent's like, yeah, you need that object. Running shot, destroy that object turn 1. Can't tell you how many times. Thank you, Proxy. 86, yeah, thank you. And Megalotus Man. So I've learned the lesson of if your team is depending on objects or using object effects, then yeah, just you better have a way of generating more objects than your opponent can, and it can't be stopped. Okay, so that's the prime example. Where else do teams break down in this? Oh my gosh, this is so dumb on how much I've stacked on. Okay, and I've seen this too. So this is, this is sort of, okay. You have what happens is you have a guy that is so used to just playing like crazy offensive teams that one day he goes against what I like to call the wall. And it's not a proverbial or hypothetical or metaphysical wall. It is literally a wall. You have a defend chain of like an 18, 19D, or 20 if it was like the old Fantastic Four ATA. The old one, not the current one. Then you had energy shield deflection on top of that plus barrier. That is the wall. Okay? Your chances of hitting that or beating anyone with that, unless you have very specific things, is quite low. Really quite low. If you're trying to run and gun. If you're depending on hypersonic speed or running shot or range, just base ranged attacks, it's just ridiculously hard to deal with the wall. The wall is not mobile at all, and if anyone ever makes the wall mobile, then it's the scariest thing out there. But the wall is slow, and it takes pride in the fact of it may have scored 100 points out of 400, but your opponent gets 0. You know, that's how the wall works. So you face a guy, a newer player or an intermediate player. They face the wall, and then they get frustrated, and they're like, "If that's unstoppable, I'm going to play the wall." And they add a defenders, and they add a healer, and then they add a barrier, and then they add more high defense guys just in case the first high defense guy gets hit, and they just stack it on. They keep stacking, and to the point where they have no offense, none at all. Like they when they finally sit back and they place the team in front of everyone, their max damage on one character is 3, and they don't have any enhancement. They don't have anything else. They just have the ability to not die. While that ability somewhere in nature is awesome on the HEROCLIX board, you need some teeth. You need to be able to KO some figures, okay? Because you don't get your own points added to victory points anymore. So anyway, that's the big deal. And I feel, and even let's take the other extreme. Someone's like, well, I get a whole bunch of glass cannons and perplex and TK, and that's going to beat everything. And I could tell you from a person who's played against that and a person that's played that, it works for a brief season. But in team design, I've seen for myself, for my own teams that I've built, and this is why I've turned into the player that I've turned into, is that if you have so much offense that you don't have a rally point to go back to, you don't have a fun way of doing damage, you don't have a way of mitigating damage, unless you can kill them in 3 turns, you're dead. And I do mean that. You're creating a burnout team that's whole purpose is to just push, kill, push, kill, push, kill, push, kill. Game's over. I wiped you. I'm 2 clicks from dead on every character, but I wiped you. When those teams occur, and And I've seen them, and again, sometimes they're new players, and even with myself, it's so much Occam's razor that you end up cutting yourself. And there is that round that you miss those 3 attacks in a row, and then you're dead. Even though you have like a 13 attack. Crit miss. So, hopefully you can see why a team can succeed and fail just based around, combos, and how combos are essential. And again, like I said, my goal isn't to present you with every combo in the game. That's unrealistic. But my main goal in this is to hopefully give you some starting points, or at least allow you to say, oh, okay, I like a piece of cheesecake and a carrot and maybe just maybe a piece of fruit on the side. Okay, that's a lot more balanced than saying, yeah, buddy, give me that cheesecake, give me that shake, give me some more sweet stuff, yeah, and a cheeseburger. Oh, yeah, and a cheeseburger. Yeah, that's just bad. It's bad for you in real life. It's bad for you in HEROCLIX. All right. Hopefully you enjoy this bonus content, and it hopefully, if you don't read the blog, proves that I'm not dead. Let me know what your favorite combo is. Definitely with new meta out there. There's a ton of just silly stuff, real silly stuff that I have seen, and some of it I read about, and some of it I will be doing. So let me know. You can hit me up at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Also, tell me, who do you think won E3? I'm saying PlayStation right now with Sony. That also was sucking my time last week. Not going to front E3. It's not quite Christmas. It's not quite your birthday, but it makes you happy. What else? Oh, yeah. You can subscribe, but most likely I'm on the bottom of your list. So, I appreciate it. But I do prefer you hit me up and follow me on Twitter, because you will always know when a new show is up. And that's at StartOverPod. Occasionally, I put up a tweet about what I'm thinking, but also bug push to Regen and tell them that I sent you, and tell them, man, y'all need to do a show, dogs. Need to do a show. I miss y'all, man. I miss y'all. Do a show. Anyway, what else? Yeah, hit up the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You get my thoughts. Get my thoughts in there about the meta. Also, big up to the guy who won Origin, who used Ghost Rider, 250-point Scarlet Witches, a full utility belt on Ghost Rider. I'm going to assume that he was using the Batman cloak, because there's no reason for him to use the Robin outfit. And what was it? Scotty Warbot. Beat the Justice League, also lost to the Justice League. Is this the new 50-50 team? Probably, but I do know this much. If you're going to Gen Con, people, bring Pulse Wave. Bring Pulse Wave. And you might say, why is that? Well, let's look at it. The Justice League player has what? Time to prepare. What are they preparing for? Ghost Rider, Awatu Unspoken. Okay? So that leaves us 3 major avenues of play. Now, what could possibly beat the Ghost Rider team? Pulse Wave. Pulse Wave so bad. Okay? So can the another utility belt. Because I don't have to take your Mystics BS anymore. Alright? So, if someone can figure out, hey, Pulse Wave, or maybe making your Mystics hurt you, or creating some sort of effect that says, no, buddy, you can't run that far. Unspoken, you move half movement. You can't get to a Watu, I outwit that. And take your chances of fighting the Justice League. If you can do that, I am betting now that people have seen Blood in the Water on Justice League, that other ideas will be popping up. So, that's my 2 cents. I have a team that if I was going to go to Gen Con, I would play this year. And like every year, I will tell you after Gen Con. And I will try to have a litmus test to prove that I'm not lying to you all, that I have a team. Even though my team recently failed to beat a Justice League. But at least I feel it's a bit 50-50. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Also, thanks for y'all being patient with me. E3, job hunting, a whole bunch of things have sucked my time. So sorry for not putting stuff up. And then also the big thing is the ruling on mind control and team bases. I think it's bad, making solo adventure replacement characters, and even stupider that my venue gets to decide how many replacement characters I have. Now you got to come to realize, what does replacement characters include? It includes, for other mechanics, split merge, morph, and promotion. Okay, that's a lot. And then if you have Tarnus to replace your to replace your Thor, I don't even. What does he qualify as, really? I mean, he's not a morph. He's just sort of a body swapper. So, okay. Anyway, my stomach is growling and tells me I need to get to my juice. So thank you for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.
I'm into comic books, figures on the wall. She's into looking good, Vicky C's got a law, and she loves my flaws. Yeah, she's not ashamed. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. 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 I'm a Peter Parker. She's my Mary Jane. I'm a big nerd around her, but she's cool around me. Never knew how she found me. Electric, but she grounds me. And she loves my flaws, she accepts them all. When the darkness comes, I will get the call. I will swing down the city.